It's a pleasure to be here.
You fought the best in the world in your weight division. Was Sugar Ray the best?
Oh, no question about that. That's not only my opinion. It's the opinion of most experts. This man was the greatest fighter, pound for pound, that ever lived. I fought him 6 times. I was the first man to beat him when he was unbeatable. I was the first man to beat him. I fought him twice in 3 weeks. These are all the highlights. You know, these are the things I can say about him. He also had over 200 fights. He fought for 25 years, and he won the middleweight championship 5 times. That's when there was only 8 champions around. Today we have over 40 champions. But you don't fight 6 times unless they're very, very close.
Yeah. I read about the early part of your career, and you thought you'd killed a man, apparently, and you let yourself be battered in the ring as sort of a penance for that. Is that right?
This is what you want to know. I'll tell you about it. Many years ago when I was a kid, I was a juvenile delinquent. I ended up in reform school. So before I went to reform school, I mugged somebody and I hurt him. And then the next day, there was an article in the paper. They found him dead in the alley.
And you saw him at a party later on.
You're interrupting me. You should do that. No, I won't do that. I won't do that. But then 11 years later, I win the title from Marcel Sedan, who happens to be the greatest middleweight champion that ever came out of Europe. He still is till today. And I went back to my hotel suite. There was a big celebration going on, and there I see the guy I thought I killed 11 years ago. I found out what happened. They said in the paper they found him dead. It was a misprint. They should have said they found him dying. Yeah. I didn't realize it then. I realized years later I lost interest in boxing. Mm. And I fought because subconsciously I thought I fought like I didn't care whether I died or not. So this is something I analyzed myself years later.
Sort of a guilt thing.
Guilt thing. Yeah. I was punishing myself,
yeah.
And it worked for me by punishing myself, by going in there, never backing up, go in, take 1, take 3 to land 1. And it kind of helped me. Maybe that was my destiny to win the title.
Short story says that the mob paid you off to lose the fight to Billy Fox so that you would get a title fight eventually. But there's more to it than that?
Well, yeah, there is more to it than that. I was uncrowned champ for 5 years. I avoid the mafia. I had nothing to do with them, although they tried to control me, but they left me alone because I couldn't be controlled. And either they had to kill me or leave me alone. So they left me alone. And by doing that, they kind of respect me. The important ones, they respect me. And they all try to be my friend because of that. And they offered me $100,000 to lose a fight. It was a lot of money in those days. It still is a lot of money today. Mm-hmm. And I told him I'm not interested. Time is running out. I'm getting older. I had everything I wanted. I had a beautiful wife, children, nice home, and like I said, time was running out, and that was my opportunity to get a chance. So the next day, while training in the gym. For this particular fight that they wanted me to lose, I hurt my rib. I went to the doctor, and they investigated. I had a ruptured spleen. So then the next day, I said to the people, "Well, listen, I have a legitimate excuse. If anything happens, I could tell them they could examine it. They had the doctor's report that I had a ruptured spleen." So I used that as an excuse, but I really didn't need an excuse, because if I had to do it all over again, I would do the same thing.
Mm. Now, after that, things went downhill. You lost the title and ended up on the Chain Gang.
Well, this is when after I retired, I went to the Chain Gang for something I didn't do. Now everybody says they're framed. Look, I admit that I've done things that I should have went to jail for. I never did. But in this particular case, I did not do it, and I went. So I guess retribution caught up with me.
Jake, you're out here to promote your video, Jake LaMotta Triumphs, which features some fantastic footage, some of those great fights of yours.
Yeah, well, see, there were many films taken when I was fighting, And so whatever film they have, I'm very surprised they found those are all collector's items because there are not many films around of that particular time. And they got some great ones in there, and I'm happy to know that they got my losing fight with the Sugar Ray Robinson, which was a very exciting fight. Matter of fact, for 10 rounds I was winning the fight.
Yeah.
And but then I ran out of gas. I couldn't lift up my arms. I was very, very weak because of making weight. And I fought him in Chicago in 1951 on St. Valentine's Day. They called it the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. The referee stopped the fight in the 13th round while I was still on my feet with Robinson pounding me up against the ropes. If the referee held up another 30 seconds, Robinson would have collapsed from hitting me.
Now, it hasn't scrambled your brain. You got hit a few times, and yet you still got it all up top?
Well, I have to admit that when I first started fighting, my brain was crooked. Rocky Graziano was my diction teacher. You have to hear Rocky talk. I don't think people out here heard Rocky speak, so he doesn't speak too well. And he was my diction teacher. He gave me electrocution lessons.
Fair enough. Now, what about the movie? Robert De Niro portrayed you in Raging Bull. Did you like it?
Well, before I answer that question, the movie was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And now you know what happened the past couple of weeks? It came out in the paper that it was the best picture in the 80s. Mm. I was so surprised when I saw that. I mean, I knew it was a good picture, but I didn't think it was that great. Because I didn't like the way I was portrayed in the movie. Because I look at it and I say, well, that guy's not such a nice guy up there on the screen. But I've changed a lot, and I hope for the best. And my wife says I changed for the best, and my other wife said the same thing, you know.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, you're going to help a young Australian boxer, I understand. Tell us all about that.
Well, I heard a lot of things about him, so I'm going to look at him tomorrow and see if I could educate him in any way. I'm pretty sure I could find some fault, and I could help him out a little bit. And then when he comes back to the States and he's fighting Atlantic City, and if I'm available at the time, I'll be very happy to work with him.
That's young Rod Carr. Jake, what about today's fighters?
The only one I could say is Mike Tyson. Yeah. That's the only one. He is awesome. He's going to go down and break all records. And I think that, you see, up until now, I can't name one heavyweight champion that can stand out. I can name three that could lick each other at any particular night. They were that great. And that was Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, and Rocky Marciano. Those three. But with Tyson in the picture and the way he's going, he's going to make them forget about these three fighters. He's going to be number one. He's a bigger and stronger Rocky Marciano.
Yeah, that's a big rap. Now, I guess to wind it all up, if you had to do it all over again, would you change it? Any of it?
I wouldn't get married. No, I'm only joking.
That right to the solar plexus was from Jake's lovely wife, Teresa. Thank you all for coming in, and enjoy the rest of your trip in Australia.
Thank you.